Today is Chukwardujin, the anniversary of the turning of the Dharma wheel, which Buddha first taught the Dharma 7 weeks after he attained awakening. I think the way they do it is they say it's the, whatever date of the 6th lunar month. And this year there was an intercalary month. I think there are probably 5 months. So we're way more than 7 weeks after the Buddha's enlightenment this year. If we had followed the scripture as it was, the 7 weeks, it would have been last month. But you're getting what I'm saying? They, instead of following 7 weeks, they say it's the X date of the 6th month. And in the lunar calendar, at least the way the Tibetans do it, they often have double months. So if you have 2 5 months, and this is the whatever date it is of the 6th month, then it's going to be a month later. So it's not 7 weeks after the Enlightenment this year. It's more like 11 weeks. But it's supposed to be 7. Anyway, quite interesting how that works, Anyway, it's another topic. So I thought that it might be nice to read the sutra that came from that day, because they say it's good on these kind of days to do some especially virtuous activities. So I thought, reviewing what the Buddha said on that day is a good virtuous activity to do. So I'll try to read it slowly enough so that you can think about it. I don't plan on adding much commentary if I can control myself, but we'll see.
What is the sutra called?
It's called Setting in Motion the Wheel of Dharma. Okay, it's in the Sanyutta Nikaya. Yeah, so it's in, if you want you would say in chapter 56 or in the section 56. Okay.
Is it one of the 2 sutras that we received on our email?
No. So, thus I have heard, on one occasion the Blessed One was dwelling at Varanasi in the deer park at Istipatana. There the Blessed One addressed the bhikkhus of the group of 5 thus, so these were his old friends. Bhikkhus, these 2 extremes should not be followed by one who has gone forth into homelessness. What 2? The pursuit of sensual happiness and sensual pleasures, which is low, vulgar, the way of worldlings, ignoble, unbeneficial. And the pursuit of self-mortification, which is painful, ignoble, unbeneficial. Without veering towards either of these extremes, the Tathagata has awakened to the middle way, which gives rise to vision, which gives rise to knowledge, which leads to peace, to direct knowledge, to enlightenment, to nibbana. And what bhikkhus is that middle way awakened to by the Tathagata, which gives rise to vision, knowledge, peace, direct knowledge, enlightenment, and nibbana? It is the Noble Eightfold Path, that is, right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. This, bhikkhus, is that middle way awakened to by the Tathagata, which gives rise to vision, knowledge, peace, direct knowledge, enlightenment, and nibbana. Now this, bhikkhus, is the noble truth of suffering, or dukkha. Dukkha, I think, is better left not translated. It just means unsatisfactory. Okay, birth is dukkha, aging is dukkha, illness is dukkha, death is dukkha. Union with what is displeasing is dukkha. Separation from what is pleasing is dukkha. Not to get what one wants is dukkha. In brief, the 5 aggregates subject to clinging are dukkha. Now this, bhikkhus, is the noble truth of the origin of dukkha. It is this craving which leads to renewed existence, accompanied by delight and lust, seeking delight here and there. That is, craving for sensual pleasures, craving for existence, craving for extermination. Now this, bhikkhus, is the noble truth of the cessation of suffering, cessation of dukkha. It is the remainderless fading away of and cessation of that same craving, the giving up and relinquishing of it, freedom from it, non-reliance on it. Now this, bhikkhus, is the noble truth of the way leading to the cessation of suffering. It is this noble Eightfold Path, that is right view, intention, speech, action, livelihood, effort, mindfulness, and concentration. This is the noble truth of suffering. Thus, bhikkhus, in regard to things unheard before, there arose in me vision, knowledge, wisdom, true knowledge, and light. This noble truth of suffering is to be fully understood. Thus, bhikkhus, in regard to things unheard of before, there arose in me vision, knowledge, wisdom, true knowledge, and light. This noble truth of suffering has been fully understood. Thus, bhikkhus, in regard to things unheard before, there arose in me vision, knowledge, wisdom, true knowledge, and light. So here he's doing three things, and he'll do this with each of the four truths. He's saying what it is, then he's saying what we have to do in relationship to it, and then he says that he has done that. So in the context of true dukkha, it's to understand it, or to explain it, what it is, the 8 things, and then the function that we have to do is to understand it, and then the third part is he has understood it. Okay. This is the noble truth of the origin of dukkha. So now he's going to do the same thing here. He's going to explain what it is, explain what we have to do, and explain that that has been done. Okay, so what it is, thus, bhikkhus, in regard to things unheard before, there arose in me vision, knowledge, wisdom, true knowledge, and light. This is the noble, that was for suffering. Yeah. This is the noble truth of the origin of dukkha. This noble truth of the origin of dukkha is to be abandoned. Thus, bhikkhus, in regard to things unheard of before, there arose in me vision, knowledge, wisdom, true knowledge, and light. This noble truth of the origin of dukkha has been abandoned. Thus, bhikkhus, in regard to things unheard of before, there arose in me vision, knowledge, wisdom, true knowledge, and light. Okay. This is the noble truth of the cessation of dukkha. Thus, bhikkhus, in regard to things unheard before, there arose in me vision, knowledge, wisdom, true knowledge, and light. This is the knowledge of the cessation of dukkha, that this noble truth of the cessation of dukkha is to be realized. Thus, bhikkhus, in regard to things unheard before, there arose in me vision, knowledge, wisdom, true knowledge, and light. This noble truth of the cessation of dukkha has been realized. Thus, bhikkhus, in regard to things unheard before, there arose in me vision, knowledge, wisdom, true knowledge, and light. Okay, now the fourth truth. This is the noble truth of the way leading to the cessation of dukkha. Thus, bhikkhus, in regard to things unheard before, there arose in me vision, knowledge, wisdom, true knowledge, and light. This noble truth of the way leading to the cessation of dukkha is to be cultivated. Thus, bhikkhus, in regard to things unheard before, there arose in me vision, knowledge, wisdom, true knowledge, and light. This noble truth of the way leading to the cessation of dukkha has been cultivated. Thus, bhikkhus, in regard to things unheard before, there arose in me vision, knowledge, wisdom, true knowledge, and light. So long, bhikkhus, as my knowledge and vision of these four truths of the Aryas, as they really are in their 3 phases and 12 aspects, was not thoroughly purified in this way, I did not claim to be awakened to the unsurpassed perfect enlightenment in this world with its devas, maras, and brahmans, in this generation with its ascetics and brahmans, its devas and humans. Okay, so here at the beginning of the sentence he said, as long as his knowledge and vision of these 4 truths, as they really are in their 3 phases and 12 aspects. The 3 phases was when he explained what each one was, then explained the function, what we're supposed to do with it, and then explained that that has been accomplished. So in terms of true dukkha, it's to understand it. That's what we're supposed to understand with it. With the origin, it's to abandon it. With true cessation, it's to realize it. And with true path, it's to practice it or cultivate it. His Holiness Dalai Lama often adds, always adds, another set with this after he goes through these 3. So these 3 for each of the truths make the 12 aspects that he mentioned in this paragraph. His Holiness adds, there is no truth of dukkha to be understood. There is no truth of origin to be abandoned. There is no truth of cessation to be actualized. There is no truth of the path to be practiced. And which refers to we have to realize the emptiness of the 4 Noble Truths. Yeah, so he really takes it, not just understanding what the 4 truths are by hearing the explanation and understanding them on the conventional level, but to realize that all 4 lack inherent existence. Okay, so to continue. But when my knowledge and vision of these 4 truths of the Aryas, as they really are, in their 3 phases and 12 aspects, was thoroughly purified in this way, then I claim to have awakened to the unsurpassed perfect enlightenment in this world with its devas, mara, and brahma, in this generation with its ascetics and brahmans, its devas and humans. The knowledge and vision arose in me. Unshakable is the liberation of my mind. This is my last rebirth. Now there is no more renewed existence. This is what the Blessed One said. Elated, the bhikkhus of the group of 5 delighted in the Blessed One's statement. And while this discourse was being spoken, there arose in the Venerable Kondana the dust-free, stainless vision of the Dhamma. Whatever is subject to origination is also subject to cessation. And when the wheel of Dhamma had been set in motion by the Blessed One, the earth-dwelling devas raised a cry. At Varanasi in the Deer Park and at Istipatana, this unsurpassed wheel of the Dhamma has been set in motion by the Blessed One, which cannot be stopped by any ascetic or Brahmin, or Deva, or Mara, or Brahma, or by anyone in the world. Having understood the cry of the earth-dwelling devas, the devas of the realm of the 4 great kings raised a cry. So now it's going to go through the devas of the 6 desire realms. So the 4 great kings are the lowest one. So those devas cried, at Varanasi, this unsurpassed wheel of the Dharma has been set in motion by the Blessed One, which not be stopped, etc., by anyone in the world. And then having heard the cry of the devas of the realm of the four great kings, the Tatatimsa devas, the realm of the 33, then they made the same proclamation. And then the Yama devas did, and then the Tushita devas, and the Nimamananarati devas, and then the Paranimanata Vasatvati devas. Okay? And then the devas in the formless realm of Brahma's company raised a cry at Varanasi in the deer park at Istipatana. This unsurpassed wheel of the Dhamma has been set in motion by the Blessed One, which cannot be stopped by any ascetic or Brahmin, any deva or Mara or Brahma, or by anyone in the world. Thus at that moment, at that instant, at that second, the cry spread as far as the Brahma world, and this 10,000-fold world system shook, quaked, and trembled, and an immeasurable glorious radiance appeared in the world, surpassing the divine majesty of the devas. Then the Blessed One uttered this inspired utterance. Kondana has indeed understood. Kondana has indeed understood. In this way, the Venerable Kondana acquired the name Anya Kondana, which means Kondana who has understood. Okay. So that's the first sutta. It's very full of meaning. You know, it took, it's unpacked in the rest of the book and in all the other discourses that the Buddha gave, okay? Because the four truths of the Aryas contains, it's, you know, the whole thing in an abbreviated form. And then, of course, the Buddha had to expand it and, you know, how to practice it.
Sutta also in the Tibetan Tipitaka?
It's in the Tibetan Tipitaka. I don't have a copy of the Tibetan version of it. Yeah, this is translation from the Pali. So we'll continue now with what the Buddha taught in the Vinaya. Okay? And so, as I explained before, that every time he established a precept, he, you know, it was because of a specific situation that happened that needed to be corrected. And so each time before he established that precept, he listed 10 benefits of establishing the precepts. So that's what I wanted to talk about today. So let me give you the outline, and then I'll go back and explain each one. Okay? So of the 10 benefits, was it in your handout? I forgot. I might have included it in there. No, it wasn't? Okay. So, so there's two broad categories. The first one's explaining the benefits in detail. The second one in general. Okay. Then within explaining it in detail, there's 3 subcategories. Okay. The first one is to promote harmony within the Sangha. The second is to transform society. And the third is to bring about individual liberation.
Venerable, it is in the community life document that you sent us.
Okay. Okay, so you have it. Huh? To bring about individual liberation. Okay. Then to promote harmony within the Sangha, there's 3. So now I'll start explaining them. Okay. So these are all showing how to promote harmony in the Sangha. So the first one is to direct the monastics. So, you know, when we first ordained, you know, we're baby monastics, and the Sangha community is very happy to have us there, but we need to be taught, yeah, just like children. And you know, actually, when you're ordained, you go through a process of socialization, so to speak, you know, in the same way that, you know, when you're born in life, we all went through the socialization process. And, you know, you learn what's acceptable, what's not acceptable, how to treat people. You know, you learn all these kinds of things. And so, similarly, when you ordain, then you need this kind of direction and socialization. And, you know, so a socialization can be difficult sometimes because, I mean, you look just even when we were kids and we had, you know, our parents had to put limits on what we could do and what we could say, and we didn't like it, you know. We wanted to run here and do that and do this, and Mom and Dad said no. And when we pestered them, they told us to be quiet. And, you know, when we behaved obnoxiously, they punished us. So we didn't like it, but it's because of the kindness of our parents that now we're adults who can function in society. We're not crazy animals who run here and there and, you know, act in whatever kind of way. Yeah. So when you join the Sangha too, then, you know, it's a special type of society. So like I said, you have to learn, you know, what's acceptable behavior in the Sangha? You know, what are the precepts? What, you know, are the guidelines? How do we keep them? You know, how do you speak to people? How do you treat other people? What are your responsibilities? What are your privileges? Okay, so the precepts really help direct us in that way. Okay, the second part of this one of creating harmony in the Sangha is to foster peace and happiness amongst the monastics. Okay, so when we all keep the same precepts, then we live in peace and harmony with each other. Yeah, we have an agreed upon code of conduct that we've all agreed to abide by. And of course we're not perfect, we make mistakes, but we're all trying, and we know that when things come up in the community or when things come up on an interpersonal level, that the people that we're working with are also doing their best and they're also trying. And so this creates a special kind of peace and harmony, you know, in the community. Yeah? And so we really see here that in one way, why getting ordained, it provides you a tremendous amount of freedom from a lot of the socialization in ordinary society, because you don't need to get a job and have a partner that fits the image that you're trying to create with the, I mean, you have to have a job and a partner and a car and a house and certain clothes and certain hobbies, and they all go together to form an identity of who you are. And then, of course, you have to work hard to get the money to buy the things that give you the identity that you have to work hard at preserving by going to work and earning the money to get the things that give you the identity. Do you see the circuit? Okay, so monastic life gives us freedom from all of that. Yeah, it doesn't mean that we just are doing our own trip. Yeah, we're entering another kind of community, one that is founded on the ethical precepts, yeah, and on doing our practice. And so, you know, we join it voluntarily, so the precepts are not being imposed on us by an external force. Yeah, nobody forces us to ordain, nobody forces the precepts on us. It's something we voluntarily choose to do because we see the benefit of it. And then, you know, we practice in that way, And since everybody's practicing in that way, trying to go in the same direction, there's a lot of support and peace and happiness in the community. Yeah. Without the precepts, then everybody just does their own thing. Oh, can you imagine what that would be like? Then we have regular society. We'll have Donald Trump in the middle of the Sangha who wants to, throw everything out and do it a different way, which is his way. Anyway, I don't want to get into that. Okay, the third factor in bringing harmony to the monastics is to protect the monastics. Okay, and so equality is the basis for harmony, and equality is what makes it possible for the monastics to be directed and for us to live together in peace and happiness together. Okay, so we have to be similar in sharing the 6 things that we talked about yesterday, being harmonious physically, verbally, mentally, sharing the same views, following the same precepts, and enjoying the resources, the offerings equally. Okay, and so we, in that way we can focus on our own internal development, and we won't intentionally or unintentionally do things that destroy the Dharma. Okay, and so in this way, following the precepts naturally protects the monastics and makes our life together comfortable. Okay, protects us from non-virtue, it protects us from quarreling with each other. Okay, so although the Buddha asked the kings and the merchants and different people in society to help the Sangha and to protect the Sangha, the real protection of the Sangha has to come within the Sangha, and I think the real protection of the Dharma has to exist within the Sangha too. Because historically it's been the responsibility of the Sangha to learn and practice and pass on the teachings. Of course, lay people do that as well. Yeah, of course. And the Buddha was very strong about needing the fourfold assembly. But there is a power, like I explained before, when there's a community of people who are all growing in a same direction. Yeah. Okay, so so the Buddha himself he said himself that he was a member of the Sangha. He didn't put himself like, I'm the head of the Sangha, or I'm the founder of this whole thing. No, he saw himself very much as a member of the Sangha and trained and practiced like the Sangha did. And you can see that, how the Buddha lived was an expression of his awakened mind. Yeah. So if you have an awakened mind, how are you going to live your life? Look at how the Buddha lived. Yeah, and that's a good example for us. Okay, then the second part of the detailed one, the second outline, was to transform a society. So that first outline was to promote harmony within the Sangha, so how the precepts do that. Okay, now it's how the precepts are going to transform society. So under that, there's 2 advantages. One is to inspire those who have no faith in the Dharma, and the other is to advance the practice of those who already have faith. Okay, so the Sangha exists in relationship to society. Yeah, we don't live apart from society. Some people, they think that to be a real Dharma practitioner, they think renouncing society means you go live up at the top of a mountain in a cave and never talk to anybody. Okay, but where are you ever going to go where you don't live in relationship to other living beings? Where are you ever going to go where you're separate from other living beings? We always exist in relationship to other living beings, so we always exist in relationship to society. Yeah. So don't think of, like, oh, this whole world's screwed and I'm just, going off on my own and forget it. That's what many of us thought. This first generation of us, when we went to Nepal and we staggered our way up from Freak Street up to Kopan. Hi, Lama. And then of course we all wanted to attain enlightenment in that life. And, we all decided, there was one monk that said, I'm going into retreat and I'm not going to come out until I'm enlightened. And then Lama sent him to open a business to benefit the Sangha. And I was going to stay in Asia, because America was just totally messed up. The Reagan years, America's messed up. I'm not going back to that country. I'm going to stay in Asia and become a Buddha. And then Lama sent me to Italy. So, he was always emphasizing, you don't live separate from society. It's not about doing your own trip, And that was a very hard lesson to learn. And I think many newly ordained people, it takes years to learn it, if at all they learn it. Yeah. Which is that it's not about my Dharma practice. We always think, it's about my Dharma practice because I want to get enlightened. Yeah, that's what we think, isn't it? Yeah? I need the best conditions for my Dharma practice so I can practice the Dharma and generate wisdom and compassion and I can become a Buddha because I want to help all sentient beings. That's what we think, isn't it? Okay? So then, our whole world, how we make decisions is based on what is good for my Dharma practice. So I can become enlightened. And then, of course, with us in the first generation, you get sent out to do all these things that you don't want to do. Mars didn't want to run a business, for goodness sakes. And I didn't want to be Gago of Italian monks, and spiritual director of the center at the same time. We all wanted to just sit and in meditation and, kind of get blissed out. Yeah, because we heard all these stories about getting enlightened in one lifetime, and wow, we were gonna do it. And then our teacher got in the way. And he wouldn't let us fulfill our fantasies. And he sent us out to do what we didn't want to do, which is how we grew up. Yeah? Through much pain and hardship. Yeah. But that's how we grew up, and that's how we finally, learned something about what the Dharma meant. Yeah. I remember being a new nun, and there were two. Well, I have many memories from being a new nun, but one of them is being in the Sangha kitchen one day and watching one monk, read a Newsweek or a Time magazine. I was scandalized. Why is a monk reading Time Newsweek magazine? Scandalous. That's worldly. He should be meditating. not reading that rubbish. Okay, so that said something about my mind. It didn't say much about him, it said a lot about me. Another memory I have was talking to somebody, outside. It was beautiful outside, and talking to somebody. And they're going on and on about something, I forget what. And I'm thinking, please be quiet, I want to go meditate on compassion. Yeah? So, yeah? So it takes some time to understand what monastic life is about. Okay, so these two ones, to inspire faith where people have no faith, and to increase the faith of people who already have faith. Okay, so we exist in relationship to society. In fact, we come from general society. Yeah, I mean, how does the Sangha grow? By people from general society joining it. Okay, so we have to, of course, contribute to the well-being of general society. And when the lay people support us, and everything we have comes due to their generosity and their kindness, of course we have to reciprocate. Okay, but the Sangha has a special way of reciprocating. Yeah, we don't earn a living, so we're not reciprocating by giving lots of money. We reciprocate by sharing the Dharma, which means teaching it or modeling it. Yeah, by being a member of the Sangha. So when lay people come to the monastery and they see us living here in the Sangha, they feel inspired. Yeah, and it's something that we hear from many of the visitors who come here, is that they feel inspired seeing this, just how the Sangha lives together, whether we're giving a teaching or not, or counseling or not. Okay, so it gives, Lama Yeshe used to talk about, you have to give a certain visualization. You have to give a good visualization to people. So he didn't mean, of course, that we have to be phony and pretend to be somebody we're not. That's not what he meant. But what he meant was, people are looking at you and you care about them, so you want to influence them in a positive way. And if you act obnoxiously, you're not doing that, And if you're able to act in a kind way, then it's very inspiring for them, okay? And so by keeping the precepts and by training the mind in how to live together in a harmonious way, then we're not only benefiting ourselves, we're not only benefiting the Sangha community, but all the people who come and visit, or when we go out into town to do things, all the people we deal with, they become interested in Buddhism. They want to know something about it. They get inspired. Okay? So, for example, when we moved here, we talked about it a lot at the very beginning. How are we going to relate to the people in Newport? Because this is a very redneck part of the country, very conservative part of the country. It's rural America. This particular county is a poor county. There's no tertiary institute in this county. There's no industry. Yeah. So how are we going to relate to the people who live here? Yeah. Well, we have to come in very low key. Yeah. Because first of all, most of them are gun-toting Christians. So we can't come in, we're Buddhists, and here are our political views, and da-da-da-da-da. No, we come in just being regular, ordinary people When we go into town, we talk to the people, you know, that we deal with. We know the people at Albany Falls, our hardware store, very well. We know, you know, different people we, you know, in the different offices and things, in the library and so forth. So we talk to them. So we thought, you know, we have to do this right, you know, talk to them and be friendly. The people who we hired to come up here, the contractor, you know, who built the building, the people, you know, we're friends with the guy who excavates, and then, you know, the people who frame the walls, the people who bring the insulation, the people who do the drywall, and, you know, and all of this kind of thing. We talk to them, we're friendly with them. So we show them that Buddhists are ordinary, kind people. Yeah? And just that, in an area of the country like this, I think is really good, because people have never met Buddhists. You know, women come in with shaved heads and men go in wearing skirts, and, you know, they don't know what in the world's going on, okay? So, but we're friendly, and so then they're normal people, they're friendly, and we pay our bills on time. Yeah, we pay everything on time. Yeah, and that's very important in a county like this. Well, in any place where you live. Yeah, but especially small town America. You know, you patronize local businesses, you pay your bills on time. Yeah, you don't go around converting people. At the beginning, we had some classes in town on stress reduction, on creating compassion, things like this, just teaching basic things, basic meditation, without using a lot of Buddhist terminology, so that people in the community would know what we believe, what we think about, what we do. Yeah, we had open houses the first few years. Yeah. And now I think we're pretty well known in the community. We just kind of invite people up as we meet them, and they come. And then also for the last several years, Venerable Jigme and I have been on the board of a nonprofit in the community called Youth Emergency Services, which deals with at-risk and homeless kids in the county. And, you know, so we're showing that we care about the county. Earlier this year, there was a walk in support of victims of, was it
Child abuse.
Yeah, child abuse, yeah. So it was a child awareness walk. We helped sponsor it. We gave a donation to sponsor it. We had a retreat that weekend. A whole bunch of our people went there and took part in the walk. So we show that we care about the community. Yeah. What else do we do?
Christmas tree.
The what?
The capital Christmas tree.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. When a few years ago, the capital Christmas tree was taken from a local forest. And so they brought it into town. I mean, this enormous tree that they cut down is on the back of this enormous truck, you know, riding through downtown Newport. And we went, and when you know, everybody's around there and looking at the Christmas tree, and we did some chanting to bless the Christmas tree and send our good wishes all the way to Washington, okay? And so there we were, you know, all the people were around, and you know, and they saw us doing that. They liked that. Yeah, that was a lot of fun, actually. Yeah, and then of course talking to the foresters and different people. So we know the foresters in the area, you know, Venerable Semke's invited them out. She knows all the different people. She knows the people who work for the local timber companies, you know. So we try and fit in our community in a good way that gives a good visualization. So these people are not going to become Buddhists. Although a few of the people have come, for short retreats, for sharing the Dharma day. Yeah, some of them have come. And then we've set up, not only in our local town, but in Spokane, we were invited to, at the UU Church, to give a meditation class. So that's been going for how many years now? How many?
Going on
9 years, yeah. And so all these people have come, it's not a Buddhist class. They didn't ask us to teach Buddhism. They asked us to teach meditation, compassion, love, how to live a good life. So we do that. But you're wearing robes when you're doing that. Yeah? And then, so of course, people think, oh, well, this is what these people live in. This is what they do. And they benefit from the class. And they keep coming again and again. And then there's another group in Coeur d'Alene that we don't go every week to, but we have like certain weekends, like what is it, once a quarter or something, whenever they request us. Yeah, then we'll go down. They organize talks at North Idaho College in Coeur d'Alene, so we give talks there twice a year. In Sandpoint, another local town, there's, what's the name of that? Gardenia Center, yes. So every year I give a talk there.
It's a new
They-
lot church kind
Yeah, they play great music. Yes, you especially enjoy that. You too, don't you? You want to go? I'm going again in this autumn. You want to come. Yeah, but so we try and reach out to the community, and just by the fact of wearing robes and being friendly and being with these people, it puts some imprint about the Dharma in their mind. And when you think of it, you think of all the 7 billion human beings, let alone all the on this planet, let alone all the other animals and different creatures, let alone all the sentient beings in all the universe. It's going to take a long time for people to meet the Dharma and to begin to practice it. So for some of these people, are going to these different places and them getting a good feeling for what Buddhism is, plants a seed for them to be able to meet the Dharma in future lives. And this may be the only contact they ever have with anything Buddhist for eons. Yeah? So, what we do, and when it talks about inspiring people who don't know anything about the Dharma, this is what we're trying to do in these small seeds that are planted in people's mind streams. And then, of course, if we dedicate to be able to meet them and guide them in future lives, it's very powerful when you have a big picture about what we're trying to do. Yeah. And then, of course, for the people who know the Dharma, when they meet the monastics, when we act properly. When we don't act properly, forget it. But when we act properly, then again, it inspires them. And so, some monasteries choose not to have guests. The monastery is just for the monastics, and guests can come during the day and then they leave, or they come and make offering and they leave, whatever. But we feel very strongly that part of our mission is to serve other people and to spread the Dharma teachings, So we have a big building like this. If we weren't caring about the rest of society, we wouldn't need to go through the headache of building a big building. And let me tell you, building buildings is a headache. Although I must say, yesterday, watching the movies, I started thinking, yeah, that was so cool when we did that, Yeah, do you remember there were certain days when it was like, it's like, oh, that's so wonderful we're doing it, And then there's the days when you have to deal with the finances and with the contractor and with things being delayed and costing more than they said and all that kind of stuff. But if this place were just for monastics, we wouldn't need all these big buildings, you know. But we feel that it's very much our responsibility to share the Dharma with others. So we have places for people to live. We have courses, you know, that are not just for us, but we invite other people to come. You know, everything we do is open for the lay people to come and join in. And so we feel this is really part of our life. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah. So actually, Venerable Wuyin, here's a nice quote. The Sangha fulfills its responsibility to the larger society by inspiring people who at first did not see the value of the Dharma, and by advancing the spiritual welfare of Sangha members and lay people who already have faith. Yeah? So that's one of the advantages of the precepts, is that we do that. Okay? We live in a certain discipline. That makes, it gives people a certain visualization. Like I was saying the other day or two ago, you know, we recycle a lot of things. I think, you know, there's no precept about recycling in the Vinaya, okay? That wasn't an issue 2,600 years ago. If the Buddha were alive today, I bet he would make many precepts about recycling. Yeah, for sure he would. So, you know, we recycle. People come here and they go, oh, you recycle. Oh, this is something good, and there's people who actually do it. Maybe we should try and do this too. Okay? And what I was saying the other day about living a simple lifestyle and so on, it makes people think, and and especially living out in nature. I mean, we found that it takes kind of about a week for people to relax once they get here, and you know, and then they really start reconnecting with nature instead of living in the city where you're for one thing after another. Okay, so this is the precepts set that guideline. Okay. Also, you know, how we use technology. We use technology in certain specific ways. Okay, and although the Buddha, you know, certainly didn't make any precepts about technology, we have our own in-house precepts about it. And again, it makes people think, you know. I'm sure many of you, when you came here and we asked that you put your smartphone into the box and not have it for the duration of the program, some people are like shocked when we ask that. It's like, but you're asking me to cut off my hand. How can I live without my smartphone? It's impossible. I have to know what's going on, and I have to be in touch with everybody, and I have to see, you know, what my friends are doing on Facebook, and I have to, you know, and it's like, well, no, we try and live where we're not completely addicted to this kind of stuff. Yeah, so you know, we ask people to, you know, renounce your smartphone for just a short period of time, don't worry. Yeah, but so for some people it's really difficult. But it makes them think, you know, how they're relating to technology. Yeah. So, you know, as part of our in-house rules, we don't have private Facebook pages. Okay. There's a Facebook page in my name. I don't post anything on it. I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to post. I don't want to post. We have volunteers who take care of all of this. Who, you know, this is the secret. But our volunteers, they're wonderful. They do all the postings on the Abbey Facebook page and the Tupten Chudren Facebook page. We don't do any of it. But we have one volunteer who lives clear across the country who is marvelous at doing this. Yeah, really marvelous. Okay. So then the third breakdown of the detailed one was to bring about individual liberation. Okay, and so, you know, as this is another advantage of the precepts. So the first one here is to restrain the restive, and the second one is to stabilize those who have a sense of integrity. Okay, so
What is resting?
restive means you're not settled. Yeah, you're not settled and peaceful. You want to do this and you want to go here and you want to go there and do this and that and, you know, something new and have something new and do something new and, yeah, like that. Okay?
You like the word restless?
Yeah, like restless. Yeah. Okay, so so to restrain the restive and to stabilize those who have a sense of integrity. Okay, so you know, in terms of our own individual liberation, you know, our mind is restless, it's restive, it's all over the place. Okay, it's just our mind's bonkers, isn't it? You sit down to concentrate, to meditate, and the mind's thinking about everything else except your object of meditation. And so how do precepts help you develop concentration? Well, you know, when the Buddha talked about the fourth truth, the truth of the path, that consists of the three higher trainings. Higher training, ethical conduct, in concentration, and in wisdom. So higher training in ethical conduct centers around taking and keeping precepts. Yeah. How does taking and keeping precepts help you develop concentration and then wisdom? Okay. Well, when you sit down to meditate, if your mind is scattered and all over the place, what are some of the things that your mind scatters to?
Attachment.
Yeah, objects of attachment. The precepts limit our contact with objects of attachment. Our mind also very often scatters to guilt or remorse, feeling bad about things that we've done, yeah, or anger towards somebody else and a wish to retaliate. Keeping precepts helps subdue all those mental states because you can't go and retaliate. Yeah, and when you don't do unethical things to start with, then you don't have the guilt that from, you know, feeling lousy about yourself from having done that. Yeah, so you just, with the precepts, okay, there's certain things that we used to do that we may have enjoyed doing at the time, but we didn't feel good about doing afterwards. Now we stop doing those things. So all that guilt, all that remorse, it stops because we're not doing the action again. Okay, so then when you sit down to concentrate, it's much easier to concentrate because you don't have those particular distractions, you know, coming and gnawing at you anymore. Also, when you keep precepts, there's two mental factors that you are developing. One is mindfulness, the second one is introspective awareness. So mindfulness is the ability to keep your mind on a virtuous object, and introspective awareness is the mind that checks up and sees if you're doing that. So of course, when you're keeping ethical conduct, we have to have mindfulness of our precepts, and then we have to have introspective awareness that sees, you know, that monitors what our body, speech, and mind are doing and seeing if we're following our precepts. So we're stimulating and enhancing those two mental factors. Those two mental factors are also very crucial for developing concentration. Yeah, because mindfulness is the mental factor that keeps us on the object of meditation and prevents it from getting distracted. And introspective awareness is the mental factor that checks up to see if we're still concentrating on our object of meditation or not. Okay, so by developing those two mental factors when we keep precepts, then we have kind of a running start when we need them to develop concentration. And then, of course, based on being able to concentrate, developing wisdom becomes much easier. Okay? So that's how, the precepts help restrain people who are restive, who want to, go out and do all these kinds of things, and who thus have, difficulties in their practice afterwards. Yeah? And again, when you live in a community, you can't do the things that you used to do, and so it stops a lot of the distractions and really helps you focus on what's important in your life. Okay, and so restrain the restive, stabilize those who have a sense of integrity, so people who want to practice well, living in precepts really helps them to do this. Okay. So in living in precepts, I think I mentioned before that we take precepts because we can't keep them perfectly. If we could keep them perfectly, we wouldn't need to take them. Okay. So we take them because we can't keep them perfectly. And we slip up and we make mistakes. Okay, of course you have to have a certain degree of confidence that you can keep them reasonably well in order to ordain. Yeah, you have to have that. But we will make mistakes, and so the Buddha set up all these different methods for how to make amends when you break certain classes of precepts. The precepts are divided into different classes, and some of the misdeeds are heavier than other ones. And so if you commit certain misdeeds, then you have to make amends. So some of the lighter misdeeds we can just confess privately ourselves in our meditation. Others we have to confess to a fully ordained person. Other ones, if we've gotten procured materials in a way that we shouldn't have, then we have to give them back and give them up. Yeah, in front of the whole Sangha. If we've been particularly naughty, then there's this whole procedure where you have to stay apart from the Sangha and serve the Sangha, and you give up. There's 35 privileges we have as Sangha members. You have to give them up for a period of time. Then there's a whole ceremony for being rehabilitated that requires a lot of people to come, so then everybody knows that you did something really naughty, and also it's hard to get that many people together sometimes. So it really gives you impetus not to break those precepts. And then of course the root precepts, if we break, then we have distanced ourselves from the Sangha and we're no longer in communion. We are not a Sangha member. So, so that one can't really make amends for, but the other ones we can. And so the idea is, if we make mistakes, we make amends, and in that way we learn, We have to stop and reflect on our mistakes. We have to think, okay, if that situation comes up again, how will I deal with it? What kind of affliction was prominent that caused me to do that action? If it comes up again, how will I deal with that affliction? And so in that way, the precepts kind of act as a mirror for us to check up on our own behavior and the mental states that cause our misdeeds. And in that way, we really start to change.
Venerable, which are the amends for the 5 lay precepts?
Okay.
What can I read about?
Yeah. Okay, so what we've set up here in the Abbey is because there's not a particular thing for the 5 lay precepts. What some teachers recommend is to take the 8 Mahayana precepts as a way of, making amends for transgressions of the 5 lay precepts. What we've also set up here is, you were here the first night, remember? Because that was a posada day. And you went into here in this room, yeah? And then you read the ceremony of taking refuge and the ceremony of the 5 precepts, yeah? So we set that up here for lay people as a more formal way of making amends, yeah? So there's a confession verse, and then you recite your refuge again, so you make that firmer, you recite your precepts again, make them firmer, you review the guidelines for taking refuge, yeah? So we ask that the lay people do that twice a month, whether they're here or whether they're at home.
So there's no amends like to go out and to replace things? For example, if stealing is breaking the present,
Yeah.
there's a thing to be done before doing the regretting side, no?
Yeah. Well, no, the first thing is to regret it, okay? And then, of course, you purify with the 4 opponent powers, I mean, that's part of this whole thing of restoring, is to do purification with the 4 opponent powers, like Vajrasattva or 35 Buddhas, something like that. For your, one of the 4 opponent powers is a remedial action. So that could be bowing or making offerings, or if you stole something, giving something of comparable worth to a charity, or giving something to the person you stole it from. Yeah, that could be a remedial action. Okay, so let's stop here, and then we'll continue tomorrow.